Hello, everyone, and good evening. Welcome to this last event for 2020 organized by the Aberdeen Italian Circle. Tonight, we are in Siena, right in the center of the city, in the heart of the city, in Via di Città, and we are meeting Giovanna and Margherita Bartoli, the owner of an historic shop of Siena, the Antica Drogheria Manganelli. So I'm meeting Giovanna and Margherita with David Dreyer, and we are going to discover together the traditional Christmas foods of Siena and Italy. Welcome, Giovanna. Welcome, Margherita.
Hi.
So just before we are going to talk about your shop and learn a little bit more about the history of the shop and the products that you have in your shop. We have a very short video that we are going to show our friends and our viewers just to get them acquainted with your shop and all the wonderful products that you are selling there, okay? So just 1 minute, a very short video, and we are going to be right back with you.
Well, hi everybody. Having seen your shop on the video, can you tell us a bit about the history of the shop? I mean, I know it's supposed to be the oldest shop in Siena. Tell us a bit more about it.
So the story is the oldest shop in Siena. It is called Drogheria. That means like a drugstore, but for spices, for salami, for pasta, and obviously for cakes and cookies. Today I'm going to show you how and which are the most famous recipe for sweetness in Siena for Christmas time. The first one is the Panforte, that is the traditional cake of Siena. Is a chewy cake made by honey, almonds, candied fruits, and the particular is the spices. The spices include the black pepper, the cinnamon, and the ginger in the version of the spicy version that you can find here. This darker is what we call Panpepato. Panpepato is the first type of Panforte that we have in Siena. It dates back to the 13th centuries, and at that time it was like a cake made with storage food. Then during years it has become the traditional cake of Siena by adding almonds, nuts, candied fruits, and honey. But most particular is the spice, because the darker color had been taken by the pepper. Otherwise, there is the white version, more recent. This recipe comes from 1879, when the Queen Margherita di Savoia came to Siena. She visited the city, but she doesn't like the pepper one, the Panforte with the pepper. So Sienese people had invented the Margherita type. So it's a little bit more sweet, with a strain of powdered sugar on the top. And in the spices, there are no black pepper. Instead, you will feel a lot more ginger and cinnamon.
Okay. Margherita, before we move to something else, I
Yeah.
want to stop a moment more on the Panforte. So
Okay.
for Italians, Panforte is a traditional Christmas cake. But in Siena, am I correct in saying that Sienese people eat Panforte all year round?
Yes, is it correct to say this? Because it's our traditional dessert with the Ricciarelli also, that are very soft cookies that usually accompanies the Panforte at the end of the meal. And we love and we like it a lot, Panforte, because it's very spicy, it's sweet, it's a little bit sour. So it's a mix of ingredients that made this type of dessert unique.
Of course, and I suppose in the old days, in medieval times, when storing food was a problem, obviously having all this combination of spices would have preserved the cake for longer. And
Yeah.
so, yes, so that's why they you know, had
Yes, originally the Panforte recipe was made by the monks and the nuns, and they were given as a tax or a tithe for the monastery. So it was like a dish made with storage food that they cannot eat alone anymore. So they combine with honey, with sugar, and with all the spices that they have in the pantry, as we can say.
Now, I know that you had a very important customer come, well, you had many important customers, but one in particular is well known to the British public, to the British audience, and that's Gino da Campo. They came to visit your shop to buy spices to make his own version of the Panforte. Perfect, fantastic. And I have also Gino's book where there is the recipe for his own version of the Panforte. Here, I don't know if you can see it. Can you?
Ambrogio.
No, here it is, sorry. Put a sign to keep note of where it was. So can you tell me a little bit, how was it meeting Gino da Campo, and is a nice, friendly character as he looks on the screen? How
Yes,
was that experience?
it was really fun because we talked a lot about Panforte, about Cavallucci, about Ricciarelli, every dessert of Siena, because he was like obsessed with it. But I claim it a little bit because he wanted to do the version with chocolate, and he was thrilled about it. But I was a little bit shocked because I thought, maybe he wanted to do the traditional way of Panforte, but he didn't. But it's okay like this. So I claimed it a little bit, but it was a fun experience. I would do that again, absolutely, because he's super gentle, super professional, and he is one of the best, absolutely.
I have to admit, I didn't make Gino's Panforte. I bought yours, and I couldn't resist having a slice. Thank you, Margherita.
Thank you.
And of course, Panforte is not the only sweet thing that you produce in Siena, is it? Can you tell us a bit more of the others, the Ricciarelli and the Cavallucci?
Yes.
How they come to be?
Cavallucci and Ricciarelli are two typical biscuits for the Christmas period. The Ricciarelli are the most famous one in the world because it's the traditional biscuit of Siena. The most characteristic way is a very soft cookie made with almond paste, powdered sugar, and honey for the sweetness. In fact, they are really soft and they are super sweet. So usually eat this like with bean santo or with grappa, that are two liqueurs for digestion. And this is really sweet. The tradition of Ricciarelli comes from also this one from medieval ages, when the almonds came from the merchant from India, from Asia, and the Chinese people tried to make a sweet out of it, so it turned out that it was Ricciarelli. The Cavallucci instead are a more hard cookie. In fact, the dough is a little overcooked because the characteristic is that is made with water, flour, anise, nuts, and orange and lemon candied fruits. This one, it is a little bit more, I would say, heavy, because the anise give it a little bit of the sweetness, but at the same time, it gives a little bit of sourness. So it's a little bit more, not in my quotes, but this is very good at the same time. So the history behind Cavallucci is that they give this type of biscuits to the postal workers to take on the way, because they didn't have a lot of time to shop, to eat, to sleep. So they give it these cookies for energy, and they have candy fruits and anise that can conserve them a long time. So it was useful at the time to carry such a snack, as we can say.
Thank you, Margherita. And of course, these are traditional Sienese Christmas, but all year around, really, sweet food. But I know that in your shop, you also sell traditional Italian cakes, like Panettone, for example. So yes, what else do you have in store for us?
So for Christmas time, we have a lot of types of panettone. Panettone, it's like a sponge cake with candied fruits and raisins and other type of cream inside. And it's a very sweet dessert that we eat only during Christmas. In fact, the traditional panettone is from Milan, in Lombardy, north of Italy, because they invented the panettone, they invented the dough, and then other type of panettone can be like with chocolate chip, or with the cream chocolate, or with the candied orange and chocolate, or other type that are more new for in this century, is like for pistachio, so with pieces of pistachio and cream of pistachio inside, or pears and chocolate, or for is a little bit stronger, this is with limoncello cream directly from Sicily. That this is one of the best, absolutely, because if you like limoncello, then you will love this type of panettone.
It sounds great, Margherita, and I'm sure that a lot of people in our audience are thinking, I'd like to taste a slice just now.
Yeah. And for Christmas time, we also have another recipe that is called pandoro. Pandoro in the dough is similar to panettone, but it doesn't have candied fruits or raisins or any other type of ingredient. So it's like a very sweet and very buttery things. Yeah,
That's
because
right. It's a lot more butter than in the
yeah,
Panettone.
absolutely, and it is delicious. The Pandoro is not from Milan like Panettone, but it comes from Verona, another city in the north of Italy, that made this Pandoro per Bellini out of the hands. So it's all handmade, like no machines and no anything. They all make Panettone and Pandoro handmade.
Yes, of course. That's fantastic. You have a wonderful selection for every taste, I have to say. I'm very impressed.
Thank you very much.
And I believe that you also have torrone, don't you?
Yes.
Vengo, ma non posso mica correre.
Torrone, yes, as you were saying, is another specialty of Christmas. It's not usually in this type, in this area of the Italy, but maybe like more northern Italy. Mm-hmm. It is characterized by the fact that it is a little bit sticky and a little bit more harder than the soft torrone, because there are different types like friabile that is more crispy. Yeah, exactly. And it's characterized by the fact that it has walnuts in it, and it can be also with like this, with almonds,
yes,
pistachios and candied fruits. So it's a little bit more heavy, I would say.
Energetic.
I suppose
yeah.
I suppose it depends on the different tastes, different people. But
yeah.
This looks very, very attractive, I have to say.
This one, and one of my favorite is this one, is the torrone covered in dark chocolate. So this one is very good, absolutely.
Fantastic, wonderful, excellent. Thank you very much, Margherita.
Thank you to you.
Before we move to the wine section, we are going to show another short video with some views of Siena, so that Giovanna has the time to get ready. And we are going to be right back to learn more about your wine selection and what we can drink over Christmas. Thank you, Margherita, in the meantime.
Thank you to you.
wines, my favourite subject. I know you've got a wonderful selection of wines, but which ones would you recommend during the Christmas season? Which go well with the Christmas food?
So there are different types of wine that we combine for the Christmas dinner or the meals in general. Here in Tuscany, the principal red wine came from 3 different zones: the Montepulciano areas, the Chianti Classico zone, and then the Montalcino. So we started from the lightest red wine we have here, the Montepulciano. So as you may know, Montepulciano is an area in the southeast of Tuscany. It's famous for 2 types of wine: the Rosso di Montepulciano and the Nobile di Montepulciano. The wine is made by a minimum 70% of Sangiovese grapes and 30% from other grapes that grows up in the country. The red Montepulciano wine is a fresh wine, perfect if you want to combine for aperitifs, salumi, cheese, or also a meat sauce with pasta. Not all the grapes are used to make the Rosso di Montepulciano. Some wine age in the barrel and becoming the Nobile di Montepulciano. That is a higher quality of red wine, more full body and structure. In the end, if you want a bottle for special occasion, we have also the Riserva di Nobile di Montepulciano that age a year plus in the barrel. The most famous red wine from Siena, obviously, is the Chianti Classico. I say the Chianti Classico because usually the people who came to buy a red wine says, I want a Chianti. But we need to be very carefully about the meaning, because Chianti wine is something and the Chianti Classico is another thing. As you may know, the Chianti Classico is a protected, restricted area between Siena and Florence, with its own rules and characteristic about making the red wine. If you want to be sure to buy a good red wine, the trick is to check the symbol of the Chianti Classico, that is the black rooster. If you find this symbol on the bottle, you will be sure to buy a Chianti Classico wine. The Chianti Classico is a more full body wine if you want to compare with the Montepulciano, because it is composed by an 80% of Sangiovese grapes with an additional 20% of grapes like Canaiolo and Colorino, that are a more light grapes that grows up in the Tuscany zone, or the international variety of grapes like Cabernet Sauvignon or Merlot, that gives a more fresh sensation to the wine. As we said, for the Montepulciano, we have also different type of Chianti Classico wine. The Chianti Classico red wine, that is the base, is the fresh and fruity one. It is perfect for sauce with meat, for a simple pasta, or with a roasted meat. It aged 12 months into the barrel. Then we have the Riserva of Chianti Classico that aged 24 months in the barrel. And a really recent introduction in this area is the Grand Selection, that is a higher quality of red wine due to the selection of each grapes that goes inside the Vinsanto from a specific year. Only the grapes of that year can be used to make this wine.
This is a special wine for a very important occasion because it's a very structured and full body wine. In the end, we have one, I think, of the most known red wine from the Tuscany zone, that is the Montalcino zone, and especially the Brunello di Montalcino. So also in this case, we have a specific restriction about the grapes that are used to make this type of wine. Is 100% Sangiovese grapes, called itself Brunello. And also in this case, we have two different types of wine. We have the red one, that is a more fresh, a more youthful wine that it can be drink immediately when you buy it. And it's perfect for the soup, for the Pecorino cheese, most of them the more structured cheese, and then for the meat. If you want a very special wine, the best one is the Brunello di Montalcino. The Brunello aged 5 years into the barrel, so it's more elegant, more full body, more structure. And we usually drink with and combine with truffles and mushrooms, or with the Fiorentina, that is like the traditional meat here in Tuscany. A little advice if you want to buy Brunello. So the most important thing is the age, the years of production of the Brunello. In this moment, the most famous are two, the 2015 and then the 2013. They are two both good years. If you have to choose in this moment, I will suggest you to get the 2015 because the expert says that this year is the best year for Brunello in the last 5 decades.
Oh, fantastic. Well, this is a very good tip. Thank you, Giovanna.
Yeah, so can you tell what makes a good year? How do they know that it's going to be a good year for Brunello?
So everything is the weather. You need the weather, so the sun and the raining days. You need to be the good amount of sun and rainy days. Then we have the experts that selects the grapes itself. So is another important thing. But the weather is like the sun, the sugar quantity of inside the grapes that gives the variety and the very fruity sensation to the wine. That is very important.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So,
and obviously the barrels, because you need to be the good quality of the wood that are with the barrels are made. It's very important. And the low temperature when there is the fermentation of the wine, it will be also a really essential quality to give a good wine as a result.
okay, and do they use oak barrels?
Yes, most of them, yes. Then maybe there is like the last 3-4 months in specific barrels, a little bit more small, so the fermentation can be even richer, okay? So for the alcohol temperature.
Yeah, yeah. Great, great, thank you. Now, we talk about wine. Can we talk about oils? Now, I know you've got a great selection of oils, but here in Scotland, 50 years ago, nobody used olive oil in Scotland. Now it's everywhere. And it's mainly cheap olive oil that we get here. So why should we take olive oil seriously? Why should we buy the good olive oil? What's better about it? What are we missing by only buying cheap oil?
So here in Tuscany, the olive oil is in every tables for each meals. It's very important. The Tuscany olive oil is very special because it is a well-structured olive oil, as you can see from here. So the Tuscany olive oil is more particular because we don't use only the olive to make the olive oil, but we use also part of the plant to make it. So the result, the final result, is a combination of a center of almond, artichoke, like you can scent the fresh grass, okay? Combined with a final spicy and bitter note due to the leaves, to the plant. So we use olive oil for everything, from the pasta, the meat, a simple salad. It can be a salad if you do not add the olive oil, okay? And the most famous meals for us is the bruschetta. The bruschetta with little pieces of tomatoes with a little bit of roasted bread. We use the olive oil because I don't know if everyone knows, the Tuscany bread is made without salt. So if you eat in this way, it will be unflavored. So we substitute the pepper and the salt with the olive oil to make the meal more flavored, okay? We have different types of olive oils, depends on the weather, on the zone where it comes from. The most famous here in Siena is the Bardi selection. That is the classic olive oil from Tuscany. If you want a little bit of more light olive oil, we have some selection from the south of Tuscany that doesn't use the plant to make the olive oil.
Okay, can you explain, we hear the term extra virgin olive oil. What does that actually mean?
Oh, the extra virgin olive oil is a selection of olive that it goes to non so come, to produce the olive oil.
To the olive mill, to the press, you know, to be pressed.
Yes, exactly. So the extra virgin olive oil is not like an olive oil we use for cooking, okay? It's like you put at the end of the meal if you want to give the flavor. It's different from the olive oil that we can use to cooking the vegetables that we put in the oven, or if you want to cook the chicken or something else, are two completely different things. The extra virgin olive oil, it doesn't necessarily need to cooked, okay?
That's right. It's what we say a crudo. So you put it raw.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yes.
You put at the end before eating the meal.
Okay, thank you. Now, a couple of years ago, I was in the south of Italy, in Puglia, and the olive groves were suffering from a virus. A lot of the olive trees were dying. Is that a problem in Tuscany?
No, we don't have, fortunately, we don't have this type of problem. So also this year, the press was go very well. Fortunately, we don't have this problem.
Good, so we should buy Tuscan oil.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Depends also from the weather, because the south of Italy has a more high temperature. The Tuscany is in the middle part of Italy. So there is also the hot weather, but also the cold one. So it's perfect. It's not too hot and it's not too windy for the olive oil. So it's perfect.
And when is the olive oil harvest?
So depends on the zone. We start from the end of August for the Siena and the Chianti Classico zone, and we goes until the end of October if it goes south, like Montepulciano zone or Pienza zone. Depends on the weather, on the high temperature. It's a complex way to choose the perfect time that the olive oil of the olive are ready to the harvest.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you.
Fantastic, Giovanna. Really, really interesting. So, Giovanna, you have these wonderful products in your shop. So, who are the producers? Where do you buy your merchandise? Are they small farmers? Who are they? The people where you buy your products?
So, we try to select each product, okay, by ourselves. There are different types. There are the small farm. Most of them, if you want to buy the product from the Chianti and the Sienese zone, especially for the olive oil, the honey, and the salumi part, they are all family business. So it's like the tradition also in making that type of products. Then we have the wine that we select. The best, we try to take the best wine from each region. So we have the red wine from the Tuscany zone. We have the white one from north of Italy that is famous for the white wines. And then we have the more particular types of wine, that is the champagne that comes from French. We try to select, we take the best from each region. For example, the limoncello come directly from Amalfi, Costiera Amalfitana in the south of Italy. The chocolate only from Turin, Piemonte, north of Italy. The Panettone and Pandoro only where they come from, they belong to, okay? It's, they are small and a medium business behind the product we sell, but we try to take and to sell only like what we call in Italian prodotti di nicchia, so something that is more difficult to find it because it's not a commercial things, but a more hidden and more well curated product.
Well, it's a high quality, it's really high quality products that you don't find in supermarkets or in other type of shops. So, you know, you always store the top of the top, la crème de la crème. And this is fantastic. And yes, I should remind everyone, you know, that is watching us, that even if we cannot go in person to Siena yet, not yet, but hopefully we will be able very soon. We are looking forward to be able to visiting you in person. But whoever want to buy your products, they can do so by using your online shop, you know, by using your website. So remember, Antica Drogheria Manganelli.it, Antica Drogheria Manganelli.it, and you will be able to shop all the fantastic products that we have been looking at and we have been talking about. So thank you very much, Giovanna.
Thank you to you, Sandra.
And if you can't remember that website, just go to the Aberdeen Italian Circle and you'll find a link to the shop. So it's very easy. Now, I'm very impressed, Giovanna, that you've got some excellent Scottish products on the shelf behind you. You're perfectly positioned to show us first.
Exactly, the perfect whiskey from Scotland.
Now, I know that the shop sells other things as well. You've got some great pasta and salumi and cheeses. Can you just tell us a little about what you can?
Yes, of course.
So here in Tuscany, especially of course in Siena, we eat a lot of salami, especially wild boar salami that is a little bit of strong taste. It can combine good with a Chianti Classico. We usually eat this like for aperitivo, for happy hour, with a glass of wine. Something very particular from the zone is the finocchiona. The finocchiona is the salami infused with fennel seeds. Yeah, exactly. This because in ancient times, the Chinese people tried to flavor a little bit the meat because it was so soft with what they had. So they ended up with putting fennel seeds inside the salami. And this one also we used like for aperitivo, for happy hour, or just eating alone by itself, because it is really good as it is by itself. Yeah.
I have to admit, this is my, you know, my weak point. I love finocchione. It's something that I really miss, and you know, you don't find up here. So yes.
Yeah, it's a little bit particular, yes, but it is not particular as the Cinta Senese.
Yes.
The Cinta Senese is this type of pig.
Well, we have seen this pig in the video about Siena, you know, the views about Siena, and we have seen one of the images was from the fresco of the Buon Governo, the effects of the good governments in the countryside, by Ambrogio Lorenzetti. Lorenzetti painted this fresco in 1338 in the Palazzo Pubblico, and there is this picture of the little Cinta pig outside the city walls.
Yes, and this is the typical, we say, pig of Siena. But in the ancient time, Cinta Senese was most likely a wild boar, but is characterized by the fact that it has this line of white around the neck. In fact, in our dialect, Cinta significa, it means collare, like necklace, as we can say. So it also has the two color of the flag of Siena, that is the white and the black.
And the black, of course.
Yeah, exactly. And this is very good with also with the bruschetta, so you can eat like besides a bruschetta, or as finocchiona and wild boar salami by itself, because it's more delicate than wild boar in flavor, and is a little bit more sweet also, and it can be good with a glass of Chianti Classico or a glass of Montepulciano wine also. Then we have, at the moment, we have finished. At the moment, it is the Pecorino Cheese. That is also a particular item from the zone. Yes, because
well-known cheese.
Yeah, exactly. It's a sheep cheese that is produced in the zone of Val d'Orcia. That is one of the most known zone of Tuscany, because it's one of the landscapes most photographed in the world, and is also called the Pecorino di Pienza, because Pienza is a little city in the middle of Val d'Orcia that is well known by the fact that produce this type of cheese. There are two types of Pecorino cheese. The semi-curd, that is the one more soft, more sweet a little bit, that combine good with roasted meat, with the roasted bread, or also with vegetables, or with honey and jams. Or there is the curd that is aged from 4 to 7 months, that is more strong in flavor. It's more salty, so it can combine good maybe with a glass of Chianti Classico, or with toasted bread, or with fig jams. So it's they are a little bit of all strong flavors. So it is a little bit particular, but if you like the fig, the Pecorino cheese is an absolute in absolute choice. Yeah.
Oh, I can see a lot of fantastic jellies and jams. A fantastic selection for every taste.
We've seen lots of wonderful food and drink, but Siena, of course, is more than just food and drink. It's a city of ancient traditions. But the one thing that in Scotland that everybody will know about Siena is the palio. Now, of course, it didn't happen this year because of COVID. But we've got a short video sequence that we'll show you, and we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
We are back. So it's time to talk about the palio. So can you tell us a little bit more about the history of the palio, why it is so important for Sienese people? Because of course, if you talk about Siena, people, think immediately about the palio. And of course, almost everyone will know that it is a horse race, but perhaps don't know much more than that. So can you tell us a little bit more about the contrade and...
So Siena is divided into 17 neighborhoods called contrade. Each neighborhood is like a big family, if we can say this, where you born, you grew up, you spend part of your life inside the contrada world, and it's like a way to live here in Siena. It's like a family, yeah. Okay, and in each families there are rules that you need to be follow. There are a more important person inside the contrada. The most important one is what we call a priore. So it's the chief of the contrada during a certain period of the year. We have our own society where we prepare the meals.
We spend a lot of time in society.
We spend a lot of time. We have different groups that are
according to age. Is it according to age? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That are connected to a specific part of the contrada itself. We have Cancelleria, that is the personal office of the priore, where there is all the emails that come from the other neighborhoods, from the principal authorities of Siena. We have what we call economato, that is the part that is more connected to the palio, for what it is called passeggiata storica. So there is all the division from each neighborhood that has to be clean and set up for a special occasion.
In a certain way.
So, and one of the most recent group, but the most important one, it's Donatori di Sangue. So they are a 17 person from each neighborhoods that organize the blood donation
when the hospital are in need. So there are specific groups of the neighborhood that are signed in this group that can help the hospitals when they are in need of blood transfusions. So it's very particular from this side, because everyone thinks that palio is only during the race, but the neighborhood behind the palio are doing all other stuff like blood transfusion. There is the group, what we call the Commissione Solidarietà. Like, I don't know, Sandra, if there is a relative in English to say this.
It's a specific group that helps the person who need food,
who need work,
clothes,
jobs,
everything.
So it's a support. It's a support
exactly.
that
A support
give
group.
to.
Yeah.
Excellent,
Exactly.
excellent. So just going a moment into detail for those who don't know about the palio itself. So how many palio races there are in a year, in a normal year?
So in a normal year, 2. The 2nd of July and the 16th of August. There are 2 separate horse races, okay? There are 2 different things. Only 10 contradas run the palio. So there are 17 neighborhoods, but only 10 can run. The 7 neighborhoods that doesn't run
This year, for example, run what we call foro d'obbligo, like obligated next the next
The
year.
next race, yes, of
Yeah.
course. And
But not if you don't run the palio for July, you are obligated to run the palio of August. If you don't run the palio in July, you are obligated to run the July of the next year.
okay.
So everyone linked July to July and August to August.
Of course, thank you. And shall we remind our viewers, when was the last palio that your Contrada della Selva won? When was it?
The 16th of August of 2019. So
The last palio
the last palio that was run. Yeah. We are the victory.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you.
Sandra, should you explain, you're holding up a banner, should you explain what that banner actually is? Because some
Yes,
of our
well, this is a
listeners-
scarf that very kindly Giovanna and Margherita gifted to my daughter. And these are the colors, the symbols of the Contrada della Selva, which is the Contrada that the Bartoli family belongs to. So these are their colors, orange, green, and white. So the colors that their Fantino, their rider, their jockey is going to wear when he races the palio.
It's interesting that in 2020, the Contrada still forms a very important part of life in Siena. You know, it may be very ancient, but it's also very modern.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Yeah.
So I will just like to ask Giovanna and Margherita, just as we are getting towards the conclusion, if there is anything else that they would like to show us. Actually, before you answer this question, but I just wanted to say to our viewers that the festive season in Italy is actually quite a long festive season, that it lasts until the 6th of January. And the 6th of January is actually the Epiphany, you know, when traditionally in Italy, an old witch called Befana, riding a broomstick, is going to visit your house and leave coal to the naughty kids and sweets to the good ones. So there is plenty of time to order these fantastic Christmas puddings and sweets that we have been looking at. And if we should remind our audience that anyone who wants to order from you can do so from your website, Antica Drogheria Manganelli.it, and that you also have a Facebook page. Am I correct? A Facebook page, a website.
And an Instagram one.
And an Instagram account as well. So, you know, plenty of ways, many ways to get in touch with you and make orders for Christmas, the festive season, and also afterwards, because you sell these wonderful products all year around. Is there anything else that you would like to show us?
Oh, there are too many things in this moment. But maybe a little one, the pici, that is the traditional type of pasta of Siena. It's like a bigger spaghetto, okay, made with flour and water.
No salt.
So no salt, like most of the products here in Tuscany. So a little advice: if you want to cook the pici, combine with a strong sauce that balance the fact that there is no salt inside the pasta.
That it can be meat, it can be garlic, it can be chili, whatever you like. But the most important thing, it needs to be heavy. It needs to be flavored.
I have to say the arrabbiata sauce that I got from your shop is perfect for the pici.
Yeah.
It's just the perfect complement. I cannot praise enough the sauce. It's amazing. So yes, indeed, this is a special pasta made in that area of Siena. You find it only there. And am I correct in saying that there is no eggs inside?
No, only flour and water.
Yes, that's right. So excellent, fantastic. Well, thank you very much, Giovanna and Margherita, for this fantastic illustrated talk of so many wonderful Christmas and not only Christmassy products. We are really here tasting them already in our mouth. So I must say that I have a few of the products that you have showed us. I have, the Cavallucci, I have the Panforte, I have different types of Panforte. Some, unfortunately, is already gone. I couldn't resist. I opened them well before Christmas time. But that has been a real pleasure. Well, thank you very much, Giovanna and Margherita Bartoli and the Antica Drogheria Manganelli, a dream shop. The place where we would like just to live, because it's full of wonderful things, what we would like to eat for Christmas, but also beyond Christmas. So thank you very much for guiding us around all these delicacies. Many thanks everyone for following us tonight and for the previous events that we broadcast. Many thanks to the committee of the Aberdeen Italian Circle, to our viewers, to all the Dante groups in the UK, in Italy and beyond. And we will see each other in January, on the 28th of January, on the Thursday at 7:30, when Dr. Aaron Thom will give us an illustrated talk on Artemisia Gentileschi. In the meantime, have a wonderful Christmas. Buon Natale a tutti.
Okay,
Have a wonderful festive season. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Buon Natale.
Auguri.
Buon Natale, grazie.